All right. We're back. This is episode 4, correct? Okay.
Yes.
We're on a good run here. You shared an article with me. I believe it speaks on the wealth gap between blacks, minorities, and the majority. What did you want to touch on specifically with the article? I thought it was pretty informative. There were a few notes that I took down myself, things that as a millennial, I'm not really paying attention to all the time. So, where did you want to start first with that?
The Federal Reserve puts out a summary every year of the state of the economy because they're in charge of the money. This time they said, man, since COVID, there's a racial disparity gap between the minority and the majority, and all inclusive are 30% behind. And there's several reasons for that. I don't think it's surprising, but with the pandemic, and low unemployment, those are the things that we as a community need to know. And then you think a little deeper and you say,
Right.
why? Why is that? In my mind, I always say, is racism the same or more than 200 years ago? So if I was born 200 years ago, am I that far put down, right? So we have a little
Right.
more freedom and opportunity. In reality, why do we stop ourselves, right? And what are those things that we do, that major and minor things, and some of those things that we do that we should not be doing now?
I get it. Do you would you
you know
say that some of the proper resources or maybe things we weren't exposed to in our community could be a reason why? Because I look at the stats. I mean, this was alarming. It said the article stated that more than 50% of black financial wealth is invested into pensions. Less than 20% is invested into private businesses, corporate equities, and mutual funds. Why do you feel like that's the reason? What do you think the reason is that for?
we invest in what we know. And the financial literacy is that one missing piece that we don't get on a consistent basis, and it's not taught like from the basic level elementary school. It's literally where we learn how to get a job. We learn how to depend on something. When it says that our wealth is tied up in pensions, our wealth is tied up in the basic things. We get a job and then we put it in our 401k, and we expect the
Right.
job to take care of us. And the other thing that we need to know is that we don't actively pursue it. So being in this wealth building business, you encounter people every day. And so the other day, had a conversation. One of my partners, she was talking to a potential client, and the client told her straight out that, hey, I'm not ready to invest in me yet.
Okay.
Right. And she asked me about that. And I said, well, you know what? That's typical, right? Because the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. In reality, what she said is, hey, I'm interested in my job. I want to put 100% in the job and 2% in me. Or
Yeah,
2%
I
in
get
my
it.
retirement, right? But then when she gets 55 to 60,
Try.
then she wants
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
in her retirement, right? When we talk about 50% of our wealth is in pensions, it's passive. And so when you look at the majority, 60% of their wealth is in the stock market and equities, meaning housing and those kind of things, to where they get, income producing assets. Income producing assets is what gives you wealth. What we do is we put all of our focus in one income producing asset, which is the job. And when the job goes, so goes your
Yes,
asset. Whereas they have two, three,
absolutely.
four assets.
What and I'll
So
say we touched on it, I think the episode before or maybe the one before that, where I said, we were sold an American dream, right? Like, you go get your job, work hard, everything will pay off if you work hard. That's what they always told us. And they never gave us the cheat codes. And what it sounds like to me, it's no excuse because we could do our research to learn more, but it just sounds like we were told something and some of the details were left out. And someone like you has knowledge on the details that we don't have access to, or we haven't found that access to. Because when you put it like that, yeah, I just feel like we aren't exposed. It's not broadcasted to us enough. It's like a secret sometimes, but it's right in your face, and so it's like it's right in your face. So
Right.
why do you think when people kind of hint at it, you said one of your managers or coworkers hinted at it early in your career, and you were like, I don't know, whatever. Why do we immediately shoot it away? And how do we change that mentality so we can build for our future?
Being a history buff, so the first black four-star general,
Okay.
Chappie James. Chappie James, he used to grow up fighting. He grew up in Mississippi and he was very sharp and all of those things. Went on to be the first black four-star general. So he told the story one time. He said when he was growing up, he used to fight all the time when he was going to school, about 9, 10 years old, for all the way through grade school and junior high. And his mom pulled him to the side and said, look, if you stop and fight everybody that
Mm-hmm.
call you the big N, you'll never make it off the block. The best revenge is
Right.
massive success. Go out and be the smartest person in the room and go out and be successful. I never forgot that when I heard it, and I said, you know what, the best
Mm-hmm.
revenge is massive success. And then one time I was I was at church years ago. It was a church in Maryland, and Al Sharpton, he's come a long way.
Al Sharpton.
So when yeah, Al Sharpton, I never was a
uh,
fan of Al
Keep my
Sharpton, to be
commentary to
honest.
myself.
But now, so I saw him in church one time, and I was a little
Mm-hmm.
skeptical, like anybody else. And so he was giving a sermon, and he said he did this. He said, "I want two people to get on the stage." And so two people got up on the stage by the pulpit, and he said, here's what I want to tell you. He said, so I'm going to walk up to you. And he said, when I hit you, just like fall on the ground. So the guy, he walked by him and just brushed his shoulder, and the guy fell on the ground, and he said, now, if somebody knocks you down, how long does it take you to get up? And he said, so it could be an accident, it could be on purpose, it could be a lot of things. But if I come back a year later and you still on the ground talking about, oh,
Yeah.
this the person did
Yep.
this to me and that person did this to me. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
now whose fault is that? For some of us, you have to take action and you have to take responsibility, but that's the hardest thing, is to actually take responsibility, because then you have no one
True.
else to blame. Right. And so just but you cannot do nothing, or like lady we encountered earlier, say, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna, I'll focus on the job, and then when she turns 60, then
Right.
I'll focus on retirement. I mean, that kind of stuff is amazing.
And you made a valid point about coming back a year later and they're still laying on the ground, and not to ignore or dismiss anything of our history, because like you said, you're a history buff, you know how it all played out. But at what point, do you say, okay, enough is enough, let me try to figure this out? Because like we said, some of the answers are clearly right in front of our face. Do you feel like this is indoctrined in our people to have that mentality, or is there a sense of fear of investing into themselves? Are they scared? Like, is it something we've known for so long to just work on that one job, but knowing if we take the risk and invest into ourselves, into the stock market, into our businesses, we could actually do more than what we've done so far? Do you think it's a fear, or do you feel like this is something that was indoctrinated into us?
I think
Okay.
it's indoctrinated, and it starts early, and then
Mhm.
we feed into it. I'll tell you another story, and this is a true story. When I was in college, I think I was a freshman or sophomore, and I was the only African American
Okay.
in the class. It was
One of
journalism
my favorites.
class. Yeah, so I'm in a journalism class, and the professor, two things he said that I never forgot. He said, what's the highest office in
The
the
highest
land?
office.
The highest office in the land. So people were saying, oh, the president. He was like, wrong, wrong, wrong. So they're giving all these answers. And he said the highest office in the land is an informed citizen, because when you're informed, no one can put anything on you. So he said, always being well informed. He said most people are not informed, and they
Mm-hmm.
live in sound bites. And the other thing he said was, they talk about the disparity in journalism or on TV about, if the majority of something happens to them, the world's going to come to an end. They're going to pull
Yeah.
out all the stops. But the reason TV doesn't report black on black crime is because they expect it.
Hmm.
He said, and that's the rule number one in journalism. He said, when a dog bites a man, nobody worries about it because that's
Right.
just typical.
Yeah, that's
He
a
said,
dog.
but when a man bites a dog, that's news. And he said, so when black people kill black people, it's expected. It's not even news. He straight up said that. The quicker we understand that that's how people
Absolutely. I
think.
mean, if that
That's the
if
reality of
they've
it.
already seen it and they view it as a norm, why they don't need you don't have to report it. They already assume it's happening outside because that's what they expect. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
crazy. They're off the chain, and the term they used to say, "Hey, if you want to hide money, put it in a book." When it came to black folks, that's what my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother told me that. A long time ago. So that's why I used to read books all the time. I still do to this day. 4 or 5 years ago, I just decided, I was going to teach myself, and that was the spark to where I go all out. And so I became a master at it. And now I just decided to
Yeah.
share
Cheat code.
the
The cheat
cheat
code.
code, if you
Uh,
will. Once somebody becomes successful, then a year or two from now, when they have a testimony, then
yeah.
here
Right.
comes
Right.
everybody. I always say, the hardest 6 inches is from here to here. And so you have to believe it. That's the first thing, is you have to
Right.
believe you could be rich. And then you have to hang around people that are smarter than you. And 90% of the people won't tell you, but there'll be that one person that will tell you, and then
Mm-hmm.
that will crack the code. And then you have to just think about how you want your life long term. And so I mean, I think about that. I was like, you know what? Is somebody that lived in 1897, or 1800, you know did they face more racism than I did? And yeah,
Absolutely.
they probably did. For the ones that succeeded,
Right.
then what's my
You have none.
excuse? And even with my
Mm-hmm.
troops in the military, I would say, look, in the grades they have A, B, C,
Right.
D, and F. And I said, why is the E missing? And the E is missing because of effort. Every individual
Mm-hmm.
is in control of that. And so based on your effort is where you come out on that scale. Same with money. It's the
Right.
same with work.
That's the inevitable.
It's the same
It's the
with
inevitable. I think
relationships.
people try to um what is the word I'm looking for? Maybe cheat their way through life. I mean, my dad has always put that in me too. It is effort. It's repetition and consistency. So how much you put in is what you get out of it. That is the most true, inevitable statement I've ever heard because I think everyone is a testimony for it. Where their life is what they gave into it. You mentioned something about sound bites. I think that was a unique way to state we are lazy. I think people, especially in my age group,
Hmm.
the way media, think about any kind of media platform that's been created nowadays, it's quick. It's accessible, but it's quick information. And they found a way to give us that information in such
Hmm.
a short term that the only way you get it is through bits and pieces. And you have to do more effort, like you just mentioned, to get the information to improve your life. What makes you different? When you join this group, for those that have never heard about you before, this is their first video, they may have stumbled upon it. What makes your group or what you're doing different than sound bites?
I guess my mission in life, for whatever reason, is I'm very good at communication or educating and making hard things
That's it.
simple. I can take very complex things and make them simple to the
Hmm.
lowest common denominator. And so when it comes to finances, when it comes to money, when it comes to business, all of those things, I'm able to share it. And I have always
Right.
never had a hidden agenda. So I make it affordable. I never like to say it, but
Yeah.
I have money. So I don't need money. Right. And so that's a big difference. When you have money, you don't have to worry about
Right.
cheating and hustling and those sorts of things. I can take the time. I make things very affordable, and I take the time, and then I've spent, I can't tell you how much money
Of
on
course.
bad courses. And I do it on purpose because I always want to see, other instructors, other courses, other how my competitors are doing. So I guess in my sense, I do the work
Don't have
so
to.
people don't have to. And
Yeah.
I see the mistakes that people make. And so what I would say is, I do what other
Mhm.
people don't do. And the things that I see in other courses or other, I've seen people, charge ungodly amounts of money, and
Mhm.
then they just keep charging, but then the
Nothing.
people don't learn anything. And then they try to get a business, and then at the end of the course, they only have notes. And I've seen all of those things. They make the investment, the conversation too
Yeah.
difficult, too hard. So what I did was I simplified it, and then I explain it, and then I take the time to coach everyone up. What I told people at the very beginning is I said, the only thing I'm getting out of this is
That's
I
it.
want
That's it.
testimonials.
That's it.
That's it. I have nothing
But
else, no other agenda. And so, I want to see people 10, 12 months now and be like, you know
yeah.
what? I started off here, and that's the best referral, or the best testimony you can get. And so then the course in my mind will sell itself. When enough people stand up and go, "Oh
It
my goodness,"
and
then I don't have to say
I
anything.
can already feel it. So as someone, I won't say I've was afraid of investing or getting into it. It's just, again, it's always been lack of knowledge. And someone who's, I'm busy. I have my own media business and things that I focus on. It was like one of those things you put
Mhm.
to the back burner. Like, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Eventually, I did. Follow some of the stuff that you put out, and I bought my first stock. I was like, let me just test. Let me just see what this is like.
Mhm.
Bought it 2 days later. I think you requested and recommended that we sell. I think I sold it, and I made $168 in 2 days of doing nothing. Nothing. I bought it, wa- watched it for
Couple
a
of
little
mouse
bit,
clicks.
chilled, worked my job, did whatever, sold it because I bought it low, sold it pretty high, and it started to drop. And you were like, "Hey, dropping." Sold it 168, and that mean to someone who is 28, still figuring his life out, getting it to where he's trying to get it to. $168 for one stock is a pretty decent profit. I cannot complain. I cannot
Yeah.
complain. So, definitely, we get more testimonies from people. People understand your mission is, like you said, you have money. And we'll touch on, because there is something from that article where it talks about people, the 20 only under 20% investing into businesses. We'll touch on your businesses, but you did say that you have your own money. There's no agenda of making more. What do you need to do that for? Your agenda is to help others. And so, I can already certainly say, and I just start, I mean, that's my first one. I can certainly say that the trust is definitely there, and more knowledge will come to me. So that's why I'm here, and people should definitely join.
Because most people spend a lot of time not living their life. They live everybody else's life.
Yeah.
And so time is more than money. And so when you can free up your time, and you can get up and do what you want, when you want,
Whatever. Do
whenever
whatever.
you
Do
want.
exactly whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
imagine that.
I believe that's the life that we
Imagine
all
that.
want to live. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's my life. That's my life. I can do exactly what I want, when I want, whenever I want. I don't have to ask anybody for
What's it
anything.
like?
Period.
You have your own businesses. We've anybody that's been here for a while, they should know you pretty well, your background. But those that don't, you have the corporate world background, but you have your own businesses on the side that you work on. Can you tell a little bit about it? You don't have to go into detail, about exactly what it is, but what's it like managing multiple businesses? Because I think, as someone who's running his own, I know it's a lot of effort and I know it's a lot of work, especially when you start up. For those that are fearful of doing so, right? Some may join the group and they're like, okay, stocks. I'm learning stocks. I'm learning stocks, and they may get stuck right there, leaving out the other opportunities of wealth, generational wealth that they could build for themselves, the opportunity to go do whatever they want, like you just said. What the beginning process? What is it like managing multiple businesses?
The internet, and I say this all the time,
Mm-hmm.
is the great equalizer, because you don't have to ask anybody. You can do a lot of things. You can start your own business. You don't have somebody beating you down, and so the effort you put into it is what you'll get out of it. And so there's real estate, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
digital real estate, and there's no distinction between the two, because both are valuable. You can water your grass, real grass, and
Mm-hmm.
water your digital grass too. You can do a renovation on a house, and you can do a renovation on your online house. And you can sell it the same way. That's how I got into artificial
Right.
intelligence and got into business. Is that, I'm like, you know what, the people on this corporate job is telling me one thing, but then when I go home, I put on my
Mm-hmm.
CEO hat. And so there's like a disconnect between
Right.
the work
Of
and
course.
what's really going on. It's that positive reinforcement, and it's doing the things that you like to do. And when it's not work, then you don't mind doing it. And that's one of the things I wish everybody could find, is doing those things that it's not even work. It's
That's
something
true.
you love to do, and then you have the time for other things, and you don't have to worry about, oh, well, I can't go here, I
Right.
can't go on vacation. Oh, let me ask this and all. No, this is what I want for everyone. This is because, I can see what's coming for people in the group. I
Yeah.
can see down the road.
You have some different attire on. I noticed the rise to riches, wealth building.
Hmm.
Any detail, any elaboration you could provide behind the meaning, behind the logo that you created there.
I liked Wealth
There it
Builders
is.
Mastermind Group, because when you have a mastermind group, it's a group of like minded individuals. When you have encouragement and you have a bunch of people
Mm-hmm.
going in the same direction, whether it's for yourself, for your family, for it doesn't matter how much money you have. You can start
Mm-hmm.
with $50, $100, and everybody in this group is
Yeah.
treated the exact same. And so my plan is to, as the group gets bigger, I will show up live and
Oh, okay.
do
Right.
workshops
Right.
on the weekends. And in that way, I can do, not only am I online live on Thursdays, but I'll show up in different cities, and where, where the majority of the group is, over the shoulder, coaching. And I'll sit down and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, let me see," do coaching and walk through everybody individually, so that way, I can make sure that people are all
And
swimming in the
learning,
same direction.
absolutely
So that's the
learning.
level of
I think
detail.
it
Yeah, and
sounds like your
learning.
goal is to
Yeah.
obviously be hands on. I think I personally, I feel like everyone learns better hands on. You do it. There's no better experience than actually doing it. And
Hmm.
so I think you being there physically to do workshops and help people. The second they learn it, it's not saying they won't depend on you anymore, but it does help them master it, just like you have. And that's the goal, is to teach our people and others, but specifically, I know you have one group you're focused on. Teach them, about the stock market. So before we get out of
Yeah.
here, the best way to reach you, would it be LinkedIn? Anybody's, because I know you'll start advertising soon. What's your best place to reach you if they wanted to learn a little bit more?
Hit me up on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
John J. Sneed. I'll definitely accept it.
LinkedIn's the best.
LinkedIn would be
Okay,
the best. Yeah, LinkedIn's the best, because I've used that much more than any other um, social media
okay,
platform.
perfect. I think that's it. Unless you have anything else you'd like to add, I think we pretty much touched on everything